Hello Mouses! Today's video, as you can see, is going up quite late because we've had so many problems with videos today. Videos hanging when they're being converted, videos not coming off the camera on the computer, and all kinds of trouble. So, at least we're here, I suppose. Better late than never. Let's get on with applying the law to Batman, and part 3, the Batmobile. Now, the Batmobile might be one of the most iconic cars in cinema history, but if it went down the road in England, would it cause a lot of problems from the police? That's what we're here to look at today. So let's get started with the very basics. Now, UK law requires a certain amount of things on your car and a certain amount of qualities for your car in order to be allowed to be driven or even parked on a road in the United Kingdom. And the first and foremost of these that we're going to cover is the road tax disc. This is a small disc that you place in the windscreen, in the usually bottom left, that tells whoever's looking at it, especially the police or road traffic people, that you've paid your tax, you're allowed to drive your car on the road. Now, Batman doesn't have one of these, and he's going to find it quite difficult to get one, as we'll show you later on, because it requires an MOT and it requires insurance, and he's not going to have insurance. Or if he does, he's going to have to work really hard to get it. So he's unlikely to have a road traffic tax disc, and even if he did, he's not displaying it, which is an offence in and of itself, because then the police can't see that you've got it. So it's not looking good for him already. But let's move on and see what else we've got. So now we come to the MOT, and here's where the problems start. Now, MOTs in and of themselves are basic requirements for your standards of safety and standards of maintenance of your car. So as long as the car isn't basically covered in rust and is going to fall apart, or all the parts are working, your MOT is probably going to get there, except for your emissions test. Now here's where Batman's going to have a problem, because he has this large jet engine thing in the back of the Batmobile that allows him to jump across buildings. That's part of his engine, and it's part of his vehicle, so it's going to be taken into account when his emissions tests are done. If he goes over a certain amount of emissions, then the car fails the MOT. The emissions is like CO2 levels and other noxious gases that come out of car engines. He's going to probably fail on that, and if he does, he can't have an MOT. So even if all his other exhaust emissions are alright, the fact that he's got a jet engine attached to his car is going to give him some problems. Now let's look at insurance, because that's the other part where his road tax disc is going to cause problems. Insurance requires that you register the car and then register who owns it and who's entitled to drive it. Now, he could register the car to a shadow company like, I don't know, Wayne Holdings or Batman Incorporated or whatever. But at some point, they're going to have to list who is registered to drive the vehicle for insurance purposes. Now, he can't just put down Batman, because Batman's not a real name. So that even if a company owns the car, he has to have Bruce Wayne or something like that on the insurance. Otherwise, the insurance is invalid when he's driving the car. So in order to maintain his secret identity, he can't be on the insurance. But in order to drive the car legally, he has to be on the insurance. He's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to be secret? Does he want to be legal? One of the two. Can't have both. I'm going to assume that he's going to maintain his secret identity, because that's what he seems to do a lot. Otherwise, why wear the mask? So he can't have the car on the road. Now here's the biggest thing, and the bit that I enjoy the most. It doesn't matter whether he's got the road tax disc, or his MOT, or his insurance, because he's driving a military vehicle. Now, as funny as this may sound, civilians are allowed to drive military vehicles on British roads. In fact, the military can drive military vehicles on British roads as long as they maintain a certain level of wheel quality so that the roads aren't damaged, and they can get up to the speed limit. The speed limit only really coming into it when they're driving on the motorway, because minimum speed limit for the motorway is 50 miles an hour. Now, the Batmobile can definitely do that, and its tyres are of sufficient quality that they're not going to damage the roads, so he's probably alright there. So what's the problem with the Batmobile? Well, it's to do with all of the weapons that are on it. Now, weapons per se, you can leave on a vehicle when you sell it to civilians, providing the weapon has been decommissioned. It can't work. Civilians aren't allowed military-grade equipment on their cars. But Batman has military-grade equipment on his car. That's a military vehicle. It's got all of the things in it that the military had installed when Wayne Enterprises were building it. It's fully armed, it's fully operational. We see it at 2 points in the film, blowing apart a wall and blowing apart the structure for the monorail. The vehicle has weapons. So he's going to run into problems here because Section 51A of the Firearms Act 1968 makes it a criminal offence to have military-grade weaponry, explosive weaponry, or weaponry disguised as something else, such as a car, on your car. There are no two ways about this. Having weapons on your car, built into it, or attached to it later, is a criminal offence. So let's have a tally so far. Out of 4 things, he's broken 3 of them. He's doing really well today. Coming on to the next one. That military vehicle that he's driving looks very heavy to me. In fact, it's so heavy it destroys things that it goes across when it leaps across buildings. That's certainly over the weight limit for a car. He's going to need a different kind of driving licence to normal then. In fact, he's going to need one that is used by HGV drivers, because that's the kind of weight he's talking about here. I don't think Bruce Wayne's got an HGV licence, do you? I've never seen him drive a truck. A truck driving licence is what he will need for this. He hasn't got one, so now he's driving a car without the correct licence, without insurance, with weapons all over it, and without showing his tax disc. Naughty, naughty Batman. But at least he deals with seatbelts, right? Because British cars require seatbelts, he has one. It's one of those snazzy racing ones. So at least he's got that right. But then again, can he clear a sleeping policeman? The speed humps that you get in the roads, as we call them, sleeping policemen. All vehicles that are to be driven on a road in the United Kingdom must be able to clear those in order to be deemed roadworthy. Well, the Batmobile can leap across buildings, it leaps across canyons and ravines because it's part of a bridge building program. So I think a sleeping policeman is not going to be a problem for the Batmobile, so at least he's got that going for him. Okay, finally, we come to number plates. Have you ever seen a license plate on a Batmobile? I haven't. It's a requirement in the UK. It's the way that the police and other motorists see that your vehicle is registered to you. You will require a number plate on the front, on the back. They must be clear. They must not be covered in any kind of dirt so that everyone can see what your number plate is. Batman doesn't show number plates. Therefore, he's going to get pulled over the moment the police see him. And at that point, all of the other things that are wrong with the car are going to come to light because they'll have a check over. Policemen do that. When they see a vehicle that's got something wrong with it, like no number plates, they'll have a thorough look at it. So Batman basically is going to be chased by the police from the moment they see him when he leaves the Batcave, because he can't possibly have registered the car to himself. He may have registered to a company, but then he didn't put the number plates onto the car, so he's got a problem either way. So that's it really. A lot of things are wrong with the Batmobile in terms of British law, and if Batman ever wants to actually use the Batmobile, he's going to run into a lot of trouble. So that's it for me today really. We've wrapped up most of what we want to talk about with Batman. We've got 2 more episodes dealing with kidnapping and the trust funds that he uses to get Wayne Enterprises back, and we'll be running through those tomorrow and Thursday. After that we might move on to another film, or we might go back to our regularly scheduled programming. Who knows, we'll wait and see. Until then, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching the video. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe if you like what you've seen, and I'll see you tomorrow.